All right. Welcome, Shawn. How you doing?
Hey, thank you.
There he is. What's going on, Shawn? How are you?
Not much. I'm good.
Good. So welcome back, everyone. We are here with Shawn Hainsworth. He is the creator of The Killing Machine, and it's live on Kickstarter right now. Well, listen, this actually placed in some of these, I guess, film festivals. Like that's incredible, man. That's great.
Yeah, I would say what's really interesting too is if you are a writer of comic books, graphic novels, screenplay competitions are sort of fun. I mean, the formatting's not hard to get used to,
Right.
and what's great is oftentimes you get really good feedback, and you can solicit feedback. And I am always trying to pull myself out of my own head and try to see what needs to get better, what's not working well, where the story needs to be expanded or improved, and so. I do kind of use screenplay competitions in that way. And, it's just nice to place and get a sense of, okay, they like this story enough that it made it to be a semifinalist or whatever. It makes you feel like at least you're on the right track, that the story's got some, some pull to it. So I'm, I find the worst thing is when you get locked into your own story and you can't see outside of it, because it's always possible to make it better, or deeper or more interesting or whatever. So I find these competitions really useful. But at this point, I'm done with that part of it. Yeah. I know what the story is, and now I just got to get it made.
What was it tough for you to kind of, I guess, to convert it from screenplay to comic? In other words, did you take, because when you're writing the screenplay, you're in a sense you're seeing the way it's the story's supposed to go. Were you able to take away yourself from it and say, okay, artist, go ahead and be the director, so to speak, of this book now?
Yeah, and actually what's interesting is when you write a screenplay these days, you are really not supposed to put any real visual direction in there. It's considered impolite to the director and the cinematographer. Like if you put close up on Richter, like, no. Right, I'll decide where there's a close up. You write the story and I'll figure out where to put the camera. So you're actually discouraged from putting that stuff in. And I tend to overwrite that because I'm visualizing the scene in my head. And I have, strong ideas about how it should look. So it was actually a great relief to write it as a comic book where I could write it panel by panel and description by description, and to not feel like someone was going to A, ignore it, or B, mark me down for trying to tell you how the story should be visualized instead of just writing a template. Screenplays are weird things because they don't exist, right? They're nothing. Nobody reads screenplays. They only exist for somebody else to take and make a movie out of. If you're making a movie of your own screenplay, then great, you can do whatever you want. But if you're trying to sell a screenplay, you're really expected to just stay in your place and just do your little thing and hand it off, which is very unsatisfying in a lot of ways. I found the biggest challenge was cutting down the dialogue. When you have actors and you have more space for dialogue. But I honestly, I find comic books to be a more pure form because you have to boil it down to the essence. Like and figure out each panel and if the audience can infer what happened between the panels, and if, everything is clear, and you have to do it in a very concise way and use minimal dialogue. So I find it more rigorous and more difficult. And I like it better.
Yeah. No, you're right, because you don't want to have dialogue that's going to cover up all of that beautiful artwork that this artist just made, right? You have this big balloon with like tons of just words, and it's like, what happened to my artwork? Like, where did it go? So no, you're absolutely right. But this looks great, man. I love the how technical everything is. Like it's so beautifully drawn. Tell us a little bit about your team and your artist.
Yeah, so the artist's name is Michel Fortin, and I was really lucky to find him, being kind of a first-time creator, and he just specializes in sci-fi. He's another geek who grew up on all the stuff, the Star Wars and the Star Trek and everything, and I have to say the best part of working with him is that he loves the technical details, right? So, I'll write something like, Richter is jacked into the computer or something. He figures out what the computer looks like, what the jack looks like, what's on the screen, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we'll go back and forth a little bit, but that's 99% him. He just loves inventing, technology and what things should look like, and machines, and that's just, and also buildings and the planet, the surface of the planet. So he's just got endless creativity for that, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a page with the fighter piles, like that whole thing going back and forth. That's beautiful, man.
Is he also the colorist, or you have separate colorist?
No, he does everything. He's a one-man band. He's like, he does not want anyone touching his colors. And he's actually he sent me one of his original files, and it was like 80 layers in Photoshop. It's not just coloring. It's like he's got all each layer is just adding like a highlight or this or that. I mean, he's really precise. And so, I just let him do his thing, man. I just sit back and say, yeah, wow. Yeah, and this is definitely where you see like the Star Trek influence and, the Star Wars influence with the battle. There's nothing original here in terms of the way the battle was fought, but hopefully you care about the characters, the situation. It's exciting. It's well drawn, and it'll hook you in.
Yeah, no, this looks great, man. This looks great. Yeah. And this is what, book 1 of 7? Or issue 1 of 7, and then you'll have a part 2, another 7, right?
That's the plan. Yeah. So issue 1 of 7 for book 1, and if I'm still alive, and then we'll talk about book 2, because the story will not fully resolve in book 1. I know where book 1's going to end, and there's more to tell, but it will end in book 2. It's not going to be an endless thing.
Yeah.
Right. So we had a question from the chat from Anibal Arroyo, and he says, from the process of transitioning screenplay to comic book, were there characters that had any major changes to their arcs?
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer is yes. And I don't know if that's so much because of the transition from screenplay to comic as it was the story just kept developing. So the major characters' arcs stayed the same. But a good example of this is, sometimes in a screenplay, you'll write a character and you won't think too much of them because they're just sort of serving a purpose in the scene. But then when that character has to be drawn and, figure out exactly what they look like, and then you start to think about, well, where are they from and why are they there? And, and I think you do that when you go into production of a film as well.
Yeah. No, it looks beautiful, man. I really love it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's great to be on the show. It's just, really nice to, I just still feel kind of new in the community. I went to Comic-Con in New York, in October, and I was just amazed how people are just so friendly. It's not like a film festival where everyone's, kind of snoopy, who are you, you new guy. Everyone was just doing their own thing, finding their own community, really open, really friendly. It's just awesome. It's like this, you can find your own niche, you can find your own market, you can find your old community, and off you go. And it's really supportive. So it's been great in that regard.
Yeah.
And where can people reach you?
They can reach me on ShawnHainsworthProductions.com, the website, Shawn Hainsworth Productions on Facebook. There's a page for The Killing Machine, Kickstarter, Instagram, pretty easy to find. So if you do a search on Shawn Hainsworth Productions or Killing Machine, you should find me.
Outstanding.
But just go to Kickstarter and type in Killing Machine. It'll come right up.
Well, the link is also in the summary of this episode. So all you have to do is click on the link, and it'll take you directly to his website, and you can go from there. Thank you, Shawn, for being on the show. Much success to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a fantastic job. First time out the gate, you hit a home run. Congratulations.
Very good. Very good.
It means a lot coming from you guys.
No worries, Shawn. Thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you soon. Maybe come back, do another one of these.
Come back and talk about vampires.
There you go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yes, I'll make
vampires
sure.
and hippies.
Yeah, I'll hide my neck. See you later.
All right, Shawn. Take care, bud.